You think just because the main Yellow Turban forces were wiped out, peace returned to the land? Not that simple. Although Zhang and his two brothers were dead, there was still a bunch of remnants under them who hadn't given up hope. At this point, three more figures emerged: Zhao Hong, Han Zhong, and Sun Zhong. Leading tens of thousands of men, they continued to burn, kill, and plunder everywhere, even claiming they wanted to avenge Zhang. When the imperial court heard this, they thought, this won't do, and immediately sent Zhu Jun again to quell the rebellion. Zhu Jun, fresh off a victory and with morale running high, immediately set out with his troops. These three rebel leaders occupied Wancheng. Han Zhong was the first to come out and meet the challenge. Zhu Jun didn't hold back, sending Liu Bei, Guoyu, and Zhang Fei to attack the southwest corner of the city. Turns out, Han Zhong knew what he was up against. He recognized their quality and immediately led his main force to counter them. But this was just a feint, the luring the tiger away from the mountain strategy. Zhu Jun himself led 2,000 elite cavalry and charged in from the northeast corner. When the rebel army saw this, they knew they were in trouble and hurriedly turned back to reinforce. As a result of this turn, Liu Bei and his brothers attacked from their rear, dealing them a crushing defeat and forcing them to retreat back into the city. Zhu Jun, seeing his chance, immediately laid siege to the entire city, leaving no gaps on any side. With food supplies cut off in the city, Han Zhong couldn't hold out and sent someone to offer surrender. But what did Zhu Jun say? No way. I don't accept surrenders. Liu Bei, hearing this, wasn't happy. Back then, Emperor Gaozu Liubang won the empire precisely because he was willing to accept surrenders and give people a chance, wasn't he? How can you be so harsh? Zhu Jun shook his head. Brother, that was the era of Liu Bang and Shang Yu, when various warlords were rising and the empire was in great chaos. Anyone had a shot at the throne. Of course, back then, you had to rally people to your side, but things are different now. The empire was originally peaceful, and only the Yellow Turbans are causing trouble. If you accept these men, they'll think, it doesn't matter if I kill and rob. If I lose, I can just surrender. Wouldn't that encourage rebellion? Absolutely not. Liu Bei didn't argue further. What you say makes sense. However, the rebels are now trapped. If we don't let them surrender, they'll fight to the death. When 10,000 men are united by desperation, how will we fight them? How about this? We withdraw our forces from the southeast sides, creating an apparent weakness, giving them an escape route. Once they see an opening, they won't want to fight to the death. They'll just want to run. Then we can wait to close the net. Zhu Jun listened and nodded. Good idea. They put the plan into action immediately. As soon as the troops on the southeast sides withdrew, the rebels indeed fell for the trick. Han Zhong led his men to escape that way, but they ran headlong into an ambush. The three armies pursued and attacked together, and Han Zhong was shot dead by an arrow. The others scattered and fled. Just as they were getting into the thick of the fight, Zhao Hong and Sun Zhong suddenly reappeared, leading a new batch of rebel soldiers. They charged back and retook Wancheng. Zhu Jun saw this and sighed. Here we go again. He decided to retreat 10 li and set up camp for the time being. Just at this moment, from due east, a contingent of troops appeared. Their leader was no ordinary man. He had a broad face, a wide forehead, and was built like a tiger in the back and a bear at the waist, clearly a formidable warrior. His name was Sun Jian, courtesy name Wentai, from Fukan in Wu Commandery. It's said he was even a descendant of the sage of military strategy, Sun Wu Sun Tzu. This man was remarkable even in his youth. When he was 17, he went with his father to Chontang and saw a dozen or so pirates dividing their loot. He told his father, "Dad, I can handle this bunch." Then, grabbing a saber, he charged forward, shouting and pointing east and west, acting as if a whole contingent of soldiers was behind him. The pirates actually fell for it, thinking government troops had arrived. They were so scared they dropped their valuables and ran. Sun Jian chased after them and even cut one down. This made him famous, and he was recommended for a minor official post. Later, he also helped put down the rebellion of a sorcerer rebel named Zhu Chang, earning great merit and rising through the ranks. This time, with the Yellow Turbans causing trouble again, he had independently gathered villagers, merchant train guards, and elite soldiers, bringing 1,500 men to assist. Zhu Jun was overjoyed to see him. "Excellent!" he exclaimed, and immediately assigned him to attack the south gate, Liu Bei to attack the north gate, while he himself would attack the west gate. leaving the east gate for the rebels to flee. It was still that same old trick, let you run, then hit you from behind. As it turned out, Sun Jian was incredibly fierce. He was the first to charge onto the city wall, cutting down more than 20 rebels. Zhao Hong saw him, spurred his horse over, and thrust with his spear. Sun Jian didn't panic. He astonishingly leaped from the city wall, snatched Zhao Hong's long spear, and with a reverse thrust, sent Zhao Hong tumbling from his horse. Then he directly mounted Zhao Hong's horse and, as if transformed, began to sweep across the battlefield. Meanwhile, Sun Zhong tried to escape through the north gate but ran right into Liu Bei. Liu Bei drew his bow and let fly an arrow. Thwack! It hit Sun Zhong squarely, knocking him off his horse. Zhu Jun's main army then pressed forward, besieging Wancheng. The slaughter resulted in mountains of corpses and rivers of blood, with countless surrendering soldiers. The dozen or so commanderies along the Nonyang route were finally pacified. Zhu Jun returned to the capital in triumph. The court was delighted and appointed him general of chariots and cavalry and governor of Henan, a very high official position. Zhu Jun didn't forget the contributions of his subordinates and submitted a memorial recommending Sun Jian, Liu Bei and others. But what was the result? Sun Jian was smoothly promoted and went off to serve as an official elsewhere, and Liu Bei? He got nothing, continued to wait for notice where he was, still struggling. Speaking of which, don't you feel a bit sorry for Liu Bei? He achieved so much, yet still, no one recognized his worth. But he's the type of person who can endure hardship, shoulder responsibilities, and go the distance. The story has just begun. The exciting parts are still to come. Didn't Liu Bei and his brothers just finish fighting the Yellow Turbans? They were just looking to catch their breath, but things hadn't settled down yet. 3 more Yellow Turban remnants popped up: Zhao Hong, Han Zhong, and Sun Zhong, leading a large group and stirring up trouble again, claiming they wanted to avenge Zhang Ju. When the imperial court heard this, they thought, this won't do. How can we let this fire keep burning? So, they immediately sent Zhu Jun out again with troops to suppress them. Zhu Jun thought to himself, we just finished a battle, the soldiers are still warmed up, and set off at once. This time, he brought Liu Bei, Guoyu, and Zhang Fei along to attack Wancheng, and what happened? Han Zhong was leading his men to defend the southwest corner. So Liu Bei and his 2 brothers were sent there. When Han Zhong saw them coming, he also set up his formation to face them. Just then, Zhu Jun played a clever trick. He looped his main elite cavalry around to the northeast corner for a fierce attack. The rebels, afraid of losing their main gate, turned and fled. Liu Bei and his brothers saw their chance and charged in from behind. The rebel army was routed and fled back into the city for their lives. Zhu Jun immediately surrounded the city on all 4 sides. Han Zhong wanted to surrender, but Zhu Jun refused. Liu Bei then spoke up. Hey, General Zhu, didn't Emperor Guoyu, Liu Bang, win the empire back then precisely because he was willing to accept surrenders and bring people into his fold? Why are you unwilling to accept Han Zhong's surrender? Zhu Jun replied, that was then. Now, in the entire realm, only you Yellow Turbans are causing chaos. If I accept your surrender now, wouldn't that just encourage other rebels to do the same in the future? Liu Bei, however, also had a point. Refusing him isn't a solution either. If you push them to their deaths now, they'll fight with desperate courage. And then we'll have a hard time. Why don't we deliberately leave an opening, let them escape, and then we can set an ambush and hit them with a counter-thrust? When Zhu Jun heard this, he agreed. So, he left the southeast gates undefended and concentrated his forces on the northwest corner. And the result? Han Zhong fell for it, hook, line and sinker. He tried to escape, was met with a barrage of attacks, and was shot dead directly. Just as they'd won this round, who would have thought Zhao Hong and Sun Zhong would charge back again? Zhu Jun couldn't hold them off and had to temporarily retreat a bit. And wouldn't you know it, those 2 retook Wancheng? Just as Zhu Jun was vexed, a contingent of troops suddenly arrived from the east. The man leading them had an air of heroism and an overwhelming presence. He was none other than Sun Jian, courtesy name Wentai. He wasn't old, but he already had a load of stories about him. When he was young, he was traveling with his father to Chontang, modern-day Hangzhou. On the road, they saw pirates robbing people and dividing the spoils. Everyone else steered clear, but he, without a second thought, charged right up, let out a great shout. And the pirates, thinking government troops had arrived, scattered and fled in terror. Sun Jian actually chased after them and cut one down. This incident made him famous. Later, he was recommended for official posts, fought battle after battle, and even quelled a sorcerer rebel who had proclaimed himself emperor. This time, as soon as he heard the yellow turbans were causing trouble again, he didn't say a word and just came with the troops he had assembled himself to offer support. Zhu Jun was overjoyed and immediately made arrangements. Sun Jian would attack the south gate, Liu Bei the north gate, and Zhu Jun himself the west gate, leaving the east gate open to let the rebels run. Sun Jian was incredibly fierce. He was the first to scale the city wall, hacking and slashing and routing the rebel forces. Zhao Hong wanted to charge over for a duel and thrust his spear at Sun Jian. But Sun Jian, without dodging or flinching, snatched the spear right out of his hand and, with a counter-thrust, stabbed Zhao Hong off his horse. It was like a protagonist in a story with an invincibility cheat on. Meanwhile, Sun Zhong tried to escape from the north gate but ran right into Liu Bei. An arrow flew, and Sun Zhong bit the dust. With the three-sided pincer attack, the entire battle was decisively over. Rebels surrendered or fled. The great chaos in Nanyang was finally quelled. With such great military achievements, theoretically, Liu Bei should have been promoted, right? But guess what? Nothing happened. Why? Because the 10 attendants, that bunch of palace eunuchs, were in power. They loved to collect money and favored their cronies over outsiders. If you didn't offer money or gifts, you were out of luck. This situation became unbearable for a court official named Zhang Jun. He went to the emperor and said, "If you want peace in the realm, first chop off the heads of these few eunuchs and hang them at the southern outskirts. Then, properly reward those who have achieved merit, like Liu Bei and the others. Only then will people be convinced." When the 10 attendants heard this, they thought, "Isn't he calling us out by name?" They immediately bit back, accusing Zhang Jun of deceiving the emperor and had him driven out of the imperial court. Liu Bei had no other options and was finally appointed to a minor post commandant of Anxi County in Dingzhu's Zhongshan Prefecture. It sounds somewhat official, but it was basically a local police chief. But Liu Bei was a good man. After taking office, he was responsive to all the people's needs. Didn't take a single bribe and didn't seize anything. The common folk were very moved. He, Guoyu, and Zhang Fei still lived as before, eating at the same table and sleeping in the same bed, the kind of deep, platonic brotherly affection. But good times didn't last long. Only a few months later, the imperial court announced another purge of meritorious officials. Meaning they were going to cut down on official posts. This time, an inspector, an official specifically tasked with inspecting local officials, arrived. This man was incredibly arrogant. When Liu Bei personally went out to welcome him, the inspector didn't even bother to dismount. Just nodded with his whip as if to say, "You can dismiss yourself now." Guanyu and Zhang Fei were so angry their faces turned black. To make matters worse, this inspector then accused Liu Bei of being a fraud, claiming his merits were faked, and said he would investigate him. In reality, he was trying to solicit a bribe, but Liu Bei was a man of integrity. Where would he get money for bribes? Later, the inspector started to make his move. Arresting the county clerks and torturing them, trying to fabricate charges. Zhang Fei couldn't stand it anymore. He had been drinking to drown his sorrows. Hearing the common people crying at the gate, he immediately stormed into the official lodging house, dragged the inspector out, tied him to a hitching post, and gave him a good thrashing with willow branches until his skin split open and his flesh was torn. When Liu Bei rushed to the scene, he was dumbfounded. "What have you done? This could cost him his life." Guanyu then said, "Big brother, your merits are so great. Yet now you're only a minor county commandant and still have to suffer such humiliation. This isn't the place for you. Let's go. We 3 brothers will find another path." Liu Bei sighed, took off his official seal, hung it around the inspector's neck, and left him with the words, "You deserve to die, but I won't kill you. I'll resign and leave myself." And so, the 3 brothers abandoned their official posts and left, beginning their truly legendary journey through the Jianghu, the world of adventurers and martial heroes.